Europe is getting used to attacks like this, Mika. We have to, because we are never going to be able to totally wipe this out. As ISIS gets squeezed in Syria and Iraq, we're going to see more of these kinds of attacks taking place in Europe, and Europe is starting to get used to that.
Yeah, that's Katty Kay, a BBC, what they call presenter, who's based here in America. I'm not sure Europe is used to it. All right, look, let me just tell you, do you think Trump can stop these leaks? Do you think leaks are good for the country, or are they bad? 888-788-9910. Let me go to my guest, Katie Hopkins, a Daily Mail columnist and a person you see on television and here on radio in Great Britain. Katie, thank you for taking the time to join us. Just for starters, your reaction to hearing Katty Kay saying y'all are getting used to getting blown up ever so often.
Absolutely. And it does make me flinch still every time, even off the back of, the atmosphere here in London is very subdued. We have the military on the streets. Every kind of siren that you hear, every, whizzing of a police car flying by, first responders, there's a real tension. You can see it, people are looking around, people are scared because, as you'll know, our terror threat is now at critical, which means another terror attack is imminent, but we just don't know where. So I think when you hear people, not flippantly, but almost that, saying that it's something we'll have to get used to. Our own mayor here in London, Sadiq Khan, or Sadiq Kant, as I call him, he said it's part and parcel of big city life. I'm sorry, but speaking on behalf, I think, of probably normal people, regular people, parents who email me, this isn't something we've got used to. This isn't normal. And now I think has been a real turning point this week where we're saying, and neither can we carry on as normal. We do not stand united. We are not stronger, and this is not business as usual.
I suppose you know the name Mark Stein. He's a Canadian-American and writes here. He was on the air last night. I'm not going to play the bite, but he was saying, how come in Britain people who were fighting for ISIS in the caliphate, in Syria, come back to Britain and just walk around as if nothing happened, that they are not put in the clink, they're not set aside for interrogation, they're just allowed to go about their business, in some cases, like Mr. Abbott, that they are planning a bombing.
Yeah, it's a very curious thing, and I think for a lot of us, having watched these little people lose their lives in another name and another name and another picture, and, when you see the pictures, there's so little, these children that have died. There is something massive about this being children, because you look at them and they wouldn't have harmed a fly. They would not have done anything to anyone. They were just excited. And it seems that our leaders here seem to put the human rights of terrorists that we know have just come back from Libya or Syria. We know they are troublesome. We're always told they are on a watch list. They were being watched. But we kind of want to shout back now, okay, they were being watched, so what? Do something. We're a bit sick, I think, of people seeming that we put the human rights of terrorists before the actual right to life of our young people. And the horror and the reality is a little 8-year-old was killed. Her mother, still in a coma, doesn't know her daughter's dead. Really horrible stories that there is no words that can convey the magnitude of the horror that's been inflicted. A lot of the news team from dailymail.com, going home in tears because of the stuff they've had to read that doesn't go out to the readers or the listeners or the viewers. It's just too awful to share. That's the truth. And yet we let these people back. We almost roll out a welcome mat for them, and I would make a kind of joke about it and say, what did you want him to do? Wave a flag to identify himself? But the irony, the cruel horror of that is he had a black flag of the Islamic State, according to neighbours, that he flew from his bedroom window. I mean, really, what more did he need to do to tell us he was going to do this to us?
Did how much difference has it made in the way you look at it and others that you speak to, that this is not a lone wolf? This was, there's his father, his brothers were involved. The 18-year-old brother said he knew all about the plans and that there is a bomb maker on the loose.
Yeah, I think there's something, it's perverse, and it may be what your initial clip was sort of alluding to, is that we have got used to the coverage of a terror attack. So we're used to being told they don't know the name yet. We have that for ages, and it was luckily Americans kindly that gave us the name before we were allowed to know. We're used to being told they were probably a lone wolf, and we're used to being told that, they may have had mental issues. But the problem with us being used to being told that stuff is none of us believe it anymore. And so in a way, there's something vaguely reassuring about the fact this guy is part of a network, and at least it means they're looking for that network. They're not trying to pretend to us that this isn't a wider problem and isn't going to go away. So that's a really curious sort of honest reaction, I think. And I think there's other things we've become tired of. We've been tired of being told this has nothing to do with any religion. We're tired of being told he was a lovely guy down at the mosque or an aspiring footballer. We're tired of those narratives as well. And actually, I think the population, or at least, the people that I've spoken to that email me that feel they can't talk anymore, don't have a voice anymore, they feel that they are tired of being told we stand united, this makes us stronger, we will not let terror win. And I think there's many of us that feel like saying, if we're honest, without sounding defeatist, but if this is terror losing, we really don't want to see what's going to happen when terror wins. And I've just actually seen Trump speaking about if we don't do something bigger than we're doing, we can expect more of the same. There's something so refreshing to listening to Trump at the moment. I'm finding myself more and more drawn to listening to Donald Trump because I'm not getting the words I need from leaders here in the UK.
You mentioned that the UK authorities were not revealing the name of the bomber, and Theresa May is upset because that leak came out of America, and the logic here is that once his name was known, which your government would rather have kept secret for a while, they had a harder time chasing down people who were associated with him. They had to do it quicker. And that is why the threat level was raised to a fear of an imminent attack. Was it really a good thing that the Americans revealed that name?
Yeah, for me, I think it's a distraction for Britain to be worrying about what the Americans did or did. And I say Americans, clearly it's not every American, but from what came out from the American side, I think that's a massive distraction for Theresa May. She needs to focus on thinking about action that needs to be taken here in the UK. A suggestion I'd have for her is to go round up the 3,000 jihadis we know are walking our streets and incarcerate them immediately. That would be a suggestion from me, so don't be distracted. And secondly, I can't help but say, speaking honestly, that I think people like myself, many others like myself, find it reassuring that the Americans are there to tell us stuff that we're not being told here. I can't help but feel there is so much now that we're kept in the dark about. There's a narrative we're supposed to buy into. There's almost, at least North Korea gets its propaganda for free. I'm a bit tired with being shown pictures on our British broadcaster that we are strong, that we are not afraid, that we stand united. I think we're tired of that. And actually, I think that's this looking to America feeling I have. I really connect with it. I look to America for truth. I look to America for the name of who just attacked our children. And I look to America to tell us the things we want to know. I think there's a sense probably, or certainly a sense I have, that our politicians here who have failed to protect us, who let these people in, they are privileged with intelligence. They are privileged with 3,800 military personnel protecting their places of work, their homes, their families. But as for us, the plebs, the ordinary people, just trying to go to work, commute home, get tea on the table for our kids, and maybe do something of an evening, we don't have the military, we don't have intelligence, we don't have protection, so we're just kind of like little ants waiting for the next footstep to fall. And then you get to a point where you start thinking, well, I hope it just fall on me. I'm happy if it's me, but not my children. Take me, not my children. I think that's more, without wishing to be over dramatic, I feel like that might be an honesty of many of us here, as opposed to worrying about who put some pictures out of a rucksack. That's not close to what most parents in the UK are at all worried about. And I think actually we just rather know some more truth, and I feel like truth is coming from America.
Theresa May was the Home Secretary before she was the Prime Minister, and this was her job then as well as now, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. She was Home Secretary. Absolutely, she was in control, therefore, of immigration into the country. So this is very much on her watch. And so as we approach the next election, which I have to say for so many people, I think, including myself, who's a kind of spotter when it comes to politics, it feels so irrelevant right now. It feels like an irrelevance that doesn't matter in life, but I can still see how these kinds of moments we do look for leadership, and I don't see it going well for the Labour Party because they will appear weaker, even though in truth it is Theresa May that was our Home Secretary, who was in control of immigration, and still now is not telling us what so many people want to hear. There was a clip earlier today from a husband of one of the lovely mothers who died, sadly, in the explosion, who has children, and the husband was saying, they said to him, what would you say? What would you say if you could speak to Theresa, if you could speak to people now? And he said, let me have your job for, 15 minutes, an hour. Let me have your job, because the husband was clear that he would do something. He would get these 3,000 people we know are trouble and round them up. He would make action happen. He would send the police to get the people we're frightened of. And that was a big moment, because it was a way of a regular person telling our politician what we need while we watch the people we love die and they're protected. So I think that's it. Is certainly, I still think that the election will absolutely go her way, even in the face of the fact that she is part of the group of people that let these terrorists back into our country for some inexplicable reason.
Katie Hopkins is a Daily Mail columnist and is a television and radio person in Great Britain. Katie, it's always great to talk to you. I love hearing from you, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for having me.